Okay, let's talk about scout camp. Most of us have some memory, right? Maybe the smell of damp tents, learning knots, campfire songs.
Yeah, those sort of classic, maybe slightly awkward, but usually fun teenage experiences, building character and all that.
Exactly. But what happens when that familiar setting, that backdrop of, maybe slightly uncomfortable fun, turns genuinely unsettling? When the discomfort isn't just the hard ground, but something else.
It's interesting how a place we think we know can suddenly feel completely alien when something frightening happens. That routine setting just shifts.
And that's precisely where we're going today. We got a really fascinating deep dive, actually, thanks to a listener who sent in some accounts from a scout camp experience. It was in a province in Thailand, one starting with Ez.
And this isn't just one person's tale. The source material includes reports from several students, all firsthand, who were there together for, 3 days and 2 nights?
That's right. So our mission here is to really unpack these stories, explore the chilling and pretty consistent experiences these students reported, see what they encountered and how it affected their trip.
Okay, let's dive in. Where do we start? The arrival.
Yeah, let's set the scene. So the students arrive, including one named Pim, who features quite a bit in the account. They're all excited, typical camp buzz.
Right.
The source describes the camp itself as pretty large, seemed well-equipped. The dorms were spacious, apparently sleeping more than 10 kids each, beds all ready, looked like a standard setup.
So on the surface, everything looks normal. Ready for activities, nothing out of the ordinary yet, just initial optimism.
And day one pretty much goes as planned. They're doing the usual scout stuff, trekking, hiking, the kind of activities that are meant to be fun but also tire you out.
Team building, navigating, yeah.
And the source makes it clear, throughout the whole day, even into the evening campfire, everything felt totally fine, just normal camp energy.
That baseline of normalcy is really important, isn't it? It makes the shift, when it comes, much more striking. It wasn't weird from the get-go.
Right. So activities finish up maybe around 10 p.m. and everyone heads back to the dorms. Some shower, some just get ready for bed. And Pim mentioned something specific.
Oh, yeah?
She says she prayed before sleeping. Her sister had apparently told her to do that when staying somewhere new, just, hoping for a peaceful night.
That's quite common in many cultures, isn't it? A small acknowledgement of the place, maybe asking for blessing or permission from local spirits, adds a layer of awareness, even before anything strange happens.
So Pim, tired from the day, drifts off, but then she gets woken up, repeatedly.
By what?
It's her friend Jai, who's sleeping right next to her. The source says Jai is strongly nudging her, like really trying to wake her up, almost urgently.
Okay, so not just rolling over in her sleep. This is deliberate contact.
Seems like it. Pim tries talking to her like, what's wrong? But gets absolutely no response. Jai just seems asleep. Or maybe sleep acting, something like that.
Huh.
Yet Pim's confused, a bit unsettled maybe, but she's tired, so eventually she just falls back asleep.
You might just brush that off, right?
Yep.
Chalk it up to exhaustion or a weird dream fragment from Jai.
Yeah.
But I guess the next morning changes things.
Big time. Which brings us to morning 2. Pim asks Jai, hey, what was with the nudging last night? And that's when Jai tells her about this absolutely terrifying dream she had.
Okay, let's hear it. What did she see in the dream?
A woman. She described her very clearly. Long hair, wearing a white shirt and black pants.
Okay.
In the dream, this woman came into the dorm, walked over, and just sat down. Right at the foot of Jai's bed.
Just sitting there.
Scary.
And initially, yes. And at first, the woman just smiled, like a normal smile. But then it started to change.
Oh, no.
Her smile got wider and wider, grotesquely so, until her mouth looked like it was ripped open, and her eyes started bulging out. And then Jai heard this high-pitched laugh right beside her ear in the dream.
Wow. That's classic nightmare fuel. The distortion, the unnatural features, the sound proximity, chilling, totally chilling. And Jai said she felt completely terrified. She was trying desperately to move or scream or just wake up, but she couldn't. Total paralysis.
Like sleep paralysis.
Sounds exactly like it. She felt trapped, even though she knew somehow it was a dream. It was only when she started praying for help in the dream that she felt she could finally break free and wake up.
That experience of being unable to move while conscious, often accompanied by terrifying hallucinations, that maps very closely to sleep paralysis descriptions. And invoking prayer or some mental focus to break out of it is also something people report. It's a deeply distressing experience.
Understandably, yeah. So Pim is shaken after hearing this, and she shares Jai's dream with the other girls in their dorm, partly to process process it maybe, but also kind of as a warning.
And the story spreads.
Spreads fast among their group. And this is really when the fear starts to take hold, the first concrete sign that something might be wrong.
Knowing you've got another night in that same room, after hearing that, yeah, I'd be on edge too.
And it wasn't just Jai's experience. Another friend in the dorm, Aum, had something happen too. She described it as a layered dream.
Layered. How so?
Okay, so the first layer involved her family's Kuman Thong. That's like a protective spirit, often looks like a child.
Right, I know the concept.
In the dream, it appeared as a little kid, maybe 5 years old. It called her sister's name, but then gave Aum a really direct warning.
What was the warning?
It said, "This place is strong. If you see anything, don't acknowledge it. Don't speak to it, or they will follow you home." Aum knew who it was immediately and took the warning seriously.
Wow, that's specific and pretty ominous. They will follow you home.
Yeah. And then this is where it gets really weird. Aum wakes up from that dream, but into another dream, one that felt completely real.
Okay.
She dreams she's just lying there in her actual bed in the dorm, and she looks up at the ceiling fan above her.
What does she see?
Hanging from the fan.
Huh.
A body, a woman.
Bellcat.
Long hair, white shirt, black pants, exactly the same description as the figure in Jai's dream. And the source says the weight of the body was making the fan blade tilt, so the figure was sort of swinging slightly right above her.
That is an absolutely terrifying image to wake into, even in another dream layer. Just visceral.
And it gets worse. As she's seeing this, the hanging figure points down at her and starts whispering over and over, "See? See? Don't acknowledge, don't cry."
That hee shilling.
The source describes the voice as sad and gloomy, not just menacing. Aum said she felt this overwhelming fear, like the most afraid she'd ever been.
That combination.
Yeah.
The horrific visual, the direct address, "see," almost accusatory, and the whisper echoing the warning she literally just received.
Yeah.
It's incredibly disturbing. Like, the entity knows she's aware but is terrorizing her anyway.
And this is where you really start to see the pattern, isn't it? You've got Jai's nightmare, Aum's layered dream, two different girls independently describing this terrifying female figure, long hair, white shirt, ripped mouth, distorted face, and both saw her inside the dorm.
That consistency in specific details reported by two separate people about experiences within the same building. That's highly significant. It pushes it beyond just, coincidence or individual bad dreams.
Absolutely. And hearing both these stories, it definitely had an impact. The fear among the girls in that dorm just shot up. They knew they had another night to get through.
Yeah, the anxiety must have been intense.
They apparently just talked nervously all night, barely sleeping, too scared.
Understandable. Once that seed of fear is planted and then seems to be confirmed by someone else's similar experience, every little sound, every shadow in an unfamiliar place just gets magnified, right?
Totally. And then, the next morning, day 2, as Pim and a friend were the last ones leaving the dorm for breakfast, something else happens.
Still in the dorm.
Just outside it. Pim's friend closes the door, then suddenly grabs Pim and pulls her away fast. The friend looks really scared.
What did she see?
She insisted she saw someone still inside, just for a second, peeking out from behind a curtain by the door. Pim didn't see anything herself.
Could be nerves, could be a glimpse, but either way, it just adds to that feeling, doesn't it? That feeling of being watched, that maybe this presence isn't just confined to dreams.
Right. So day 2 activities carry on, but now there's this definite undercurrent of fear among that group. And then the encounters move outside the dorm.
Okay.
A male scout, same year, named George. He has a sighting during the day while they're out trekking in the woods.
In broad daylight.
Yeah. He sees a woman standing under a big tree a little way off the path. At first, he actually thinks it might be a prank, like maybe the instructor set something up.
What did she look like from a distance?
He described her just like the others did. Long hair, white shirt, really pale skin. She was just standing perfectly still, looking down at the ground. He's watching her, thinking it's kind of weird.
Waiting for the punchline, maybe?
Exactly. He was apparently just about to nudge his friend to look too, but then the woman slowly lifts her head, and George sees her face clearly.
Let me guess.
Empty eye sockets. And that same ripped mouth the girls described from their nightmares.
Oh, man. So a waking sighting that matches the dream descriptions.
Completely. And seeing that, George just lost it. Freaked out, instantly turned and ran, sprinting past his group, screaming to the teacher up ahead that he'd seen a ghost.
Wow. Okay, so his reaction is very public, very panicked. That's going to get attention.
Definitely. It meant the story wasn't just circulating within one dorm anymore, it spread like wildfire through the whole scout troop, the entire Kongluk Sua.
Right.
Lots of kids went up to him afterwards, asking what he saw. And when he described her, the face, the white shirt, the hair, it matched exactly what Jai and Aom had experienced. For many students, this was confirmation. This thing wasn't just in dreams, it was real, and it was out there in the camp.
That corroboration is powerful, isn't it? Across individuals, locations, and even states of consciousness, dreams versus waking. It builds this really strong shared narrative of terror.
And then after dinner on day 2, the students noticed something else, kind of telling. They saw some of the teachers and the camp staff praying and lighting incense at the spirit house, which was near the dorms.
Ah, okay. So the adults were aware of the stories, or maybe they already had concerns about the place themselves. That action, praying at the spirit house, even if meant to be protective, it would probably just reinforce the students' fears, wouldn't it? Like confirming there is something to be scared of?
Yeah, you'd think so. Apparently, the teachers did try to calm everyone down later. They suggested it was just kids being tired, overactive imaginations, told them not to talk about it so much.
Kind of standard damage control, maybe, but probably not very effective by that point.
Probably not. The fear was too widespread, and the stories felt too consistent, too validated by then. It's hard to tell someone their terrifying experience, shared by friends, is just imagination.
Yeah, very difficult.
So, night 2 rolls around, and the whole atmosphere of the camp is just different, thick with fear, unease. The source says it felt really eerie after sunset. Nobody dared to walk anywhere alone.
The familiar camp spaces are totally transformed by fear now. They feel hostile, dangerous after dark.
And when the campfire ended, again around 10 p.m., it was like a stampede back to the dorms. No one lingered. Everyone just wanted to be inside with their group.
Seeking safety in numbers, even inside the building where some of the scary stuff happened.
Inside the dorm, those girls were absolutely terrified. The account describes them praying like mad, reciting every prayer they knew from their books, and they all slept completely covered up, head to toe under the blankets.
Wow, like literally hiding. A really primal response to feeling vulnerable to something you can't see or fight.
And get this detail really shows the level of fear. Nobody dared to go to the bathroom during the night, no matter how badly they needed to. They just held it until morning.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? The fear of being alone, exposed, even for a minute outside the perceived safety of their bed and the group. It completely overrode basic physical needs. That's intense fear.
Yeah. So morning 3 finally arrives. But even though everyone's exhausted from a night of fear, the weirdness isn't over. They get woken up early for running activities.
Still going. The environment seems relentlessly active.
And another friend, Mel, she has an encounter while she's still near the dorm. She hears a woman's voice outside calling out, "Grandma, yay, open the door."
Calling for someone specific inside.
Seems like it. Mel looks and sees a woman outside, looks normal at first glance, wearing a white shirt. And an older woman who was apparently also staying in that dorm, maybe staff or a helper, goes to open the door.
Oh.
As the old woman opens the door, the face of the woman outside instantly twists into that same horrifying figure, bulging eyes, ripped mouth, and she reaches out like she's trying to grab the old woman.
Whoa.
Mel saw it happen and immediately recognized the face as the ghost everyone had been describing.
So a direct, seemingly aggressive manifestation witnessed while awake. That adds a whole new layer of immediate threat, confirming the descriptions again.
And then there's Jai, again the one who had the first nightmare. While she's out running, she hears someone calling her name. "Jai, come here."
From behind her.
Yeah, and it sounds exactly like her friend Mobile's voice. But when she turns around, nobody's there, and she looks ahead and sees the real Mobile running way up front with a different group.
Okay, so an auditory hallucination. Mimicking a friend's voice. That's incredibly unnerving. Makes you doubt your own senses, tries to isolate you maybe. Creepy.
Totally. These last few experiences on the final morning, they just cemented everyone's fear. They were desperate to leave. Just get us out of here, you know?
The cumulative effect is overwhelming at this point. Consistent descriptions, varied experiences, dreams, sightings, sounds. It creates this powerful, shared sense of being haunted or targeted by the place itself.
So finally, departure time. They have the closing ceremony, and then the school buses take them home around noon. And the sense of relief among the students was just huge. You could feel it.
I bet.
They all basically said it was the most terrifying experience of their lives, and they couldn't get away fast enough. Just afraid of what else might happen if they stayed any longer.
It clearly left a massive impression. Those 3 days completely overshadowed any normal camp fun and became this defining, scary memory for them.
So let's try and pull these threads together. The thing that really stands out is that consistency, right? The description of this entity. Long hair, white shirt, and those very specific, awful facial details. The ripped mouth, the distorted or missing eyes. Multiple students, independent experiences, dreams, waking sightings, different locations, all describing the same figure.
That level of detailed consistency across separate witnesses is really what makes these accounts so striking. It makes it much harder to dismiss as just, mass hysteria or unrelated nightmares. It points towards something shared being perceived.
And the experiences themselves were varied too. We had the clear visual sightings like George's and Mel's. We had those terrifying nightmares possibly involving sleep paralysis for Jai. And then the auditory stuff like Jai hearing her name called.
Yeah, it's not just one type of phenomenon. It's a whole range, visual, auditory, psychological maybe, all seemingly connected to this one entity in this specific location. It suggests something potentially complex was going on.
The person who submitted the source material did offer some thoughts on why it might have happened there. They speculated about the camp's location, maybe its history, or how it was built. Things like that potentially contributing.
Which is a common way people try to make sense of these things, right? Looking for reasons in the environment itself. Beliefs about places holding on to energy or being linked to past events are widespread. The local culture and beliefs about spirits of place would definitely influence how these events were interpreted too.
And linked to that, the source mentioned the students talking about bringing religious items like amulets to camp for protection. That wasn't just a random idea, it came up specifically because of these events.
Right, it shows people resorting to familiar cultural practices for spiritual defense when they feel threatened by something unseen. It's a practical response based on their worldview and the perceived danger of that place.
What I find really interesting is the power of the shared experience itself. These started as maybe individual, terrifying moments, Jai's dream, Aum's dream, but once they started sharing them...
They validated each other.
Exactly. Jai's dream maybe made George's later sightings seem more real to others. Mel, seeing the figure, confirmed what Jai and Aum saw in their dreams. That sharing process, it amplified the fear, didn't it? It created this intense collective terror for the whole group.
Absolutely. It creates a kind of feedback loop. Fear breeds belief. Belief heightens sensitivity. And every new report, even a small one, seems to confirm the shared narrative. The anxiety builds collectively. And maybe people become even more attuned to perceiving things. The whole group experience becomes a sort of collective haunting.
It really makes you think about those familiar places, doesn't it? Like scout camps, places from your own past. How quickly the atmosphere can change if strange stories start or weird things happen. Suddenly the woods aren't just woods anymore. The old buildings feel different.
It highlights how fragile our sense of security can be, even in seemingly known environments, when we encounter things we just can't easily explain away.
So that was our deep dive into these really unsettling accounts from that scout camp in Thailand's Province S, marked by those incredibly consistent sightings and that shared wave of terror among the students.
And again, thanks to the listener who provided the source material.
Yeah.
It allowed us to really explore the details of what sounds like a truly frightening experience for everyone involved.
It definitely leaves you wondering, doesn't it? When you have multiple people seeing and feeling such similar, inexplicable things in one place, how much of it is the place itself, its history, its energy, whatever that might mean, and how much is shaped by the power of suggestion, shared fear, and collective belief taking hold?
It's that fascinating question. Does the place create the experience, or do the people, brought together in fear, create the lens through which the place is ultimately perceived? Something to think about.